What is up, people? We are back with Down the Middle podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Nomal.
And we're talking about the NYC mayoral primary that just happened yesterday. We're going over all the candidates. We're both from New York, so this is a close-to-home topic.
Yep.
Who we want to win, what these guys are all about. Do the Republicans stand any chance? No, but
not at all. So there's no even point about talking about Kurt Sliwa. What that's his name?
Sliwa. We'll mention him. We'll mention him because he's going to go up against whoever wins, but he's not going to win.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. We got a couple moderate Democrats running.
Yeah.
Some of them have some more progressive policies, but overall they seem like they're pretty good.
Yeah. So they're around like 13 candidates,
Mm-hmm.
and then now 12 because Andrew Yang actually dropped out hours after the polls closed.
And we were talking. Was it last night we were talking? Andrew Yang was my favorite going into it.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent. Columbia Law School. Ran for president, has good policies, a very common sense individual, which is what you need for New York right now. You don't need a Republican, you don't need a Democrat, you just need someone with common sense.
Yeah.
Like Joe Biden says, it's not a red or blue issue, it's an American issue.
Yeah, and then when asked about why he dropped out, he said something along the lines of, I'm good at math, and the numbers didn't add up for me to win.
Something along the lines is, I don't want to lose like I lost in the presidential election. I have a bunch of money, I'm just going to go on vacation.
Sounds like a plan to me, honestly.
Yeah, because he has a bunch of money, he doesn't need to do this.
Yeah, and I think the main reason why in the beginning, like we said and we spoke about, he had traction in the beginning, and that was more so because he had like the national recognition.
Yeah.
But I think as he progressed on to the race, he didn't really have a real plan for the city. So then as people came out with their own plans, then they started heading. It
was really just like the big UBI plan. He was going to spend $2,000 per month for these low income. No, he was going to do universal basic income, so at least $2,000 per month. And that was really his big one, which is a very, very progressive, very radical idea, but it gained a lot of steam, and he was on the presidential stage, and he used big words, so people were following him. Yeah. But let's talk these candidates. We're going to start with Kathryn Garcia.
Yeah, so Kathryn Garcia, so one thing, she was Department of Sanitation, and that's actually one of the main driving points that she's bringing into her platform. She really wants to change up how we approach waste and waste management. And that's a good thing because we were talking about the last video.
Yeah.
Cleanliness is one of my biggest points as well. But yeah, that's one component that she wanted to focus on, especially since she worked in the industry.
And she's from Brooklyn. She was also the head of the New York City Housing Authority. Just like homelessness is the third biggest issue. Yeah. So that's one that's right there too. This is someone who has a lot of experience in government in New York.
Yeah. She was also the chief operating officer at the Department of Environmental Protection as well.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her. I like her experience.
She knows what she's doing in terms of,
Also, COVID-19, she was the food czar. She was in charge of meals and all that for COVID-19. So she has a lot of great experience.
Yeah.
Now, what about policy?
Let's see. She had obviously there's a lot because, obviously at the platforms there's a lot. So I just took a bit of each. She wanted to increase patrols in neighborhoods with history of shootings, increase size of NYPD gun violence suppression division, and add funding to the Cure Violence community programs.
Which are all good things.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Now, did she talk about defunding or refunding? Did she mention?
So she didn't talk about defunding or refunding
because a lot of the candidates try to stay away from that because they look to refund or at least reallocate, but they know if they say that, that's trigger words.
Yeah. Well, so the main we're going to bring up three candidates because they're the ones who are probably going to be
they're leading in the polls.
Leading in the polls.
Yeah.
So there's Eric Adams, which we'll be getting to, Wiley, which we'll be getting to, and then we're talking about Kathryn Garcia currently. So talking in regards to defunding or refunding, whatever, Kathryn Garcia didn't have a plan necessarily to refund or defund, while Wiley had a plan to defund and then and then Garcia had a plan to reallocate.
Yeah, exactly.
Adams.
But that stuff that you're mentioning, that kind of points to a up in funding because if you want to expand police jobs and their services, then you need to fund them more. Yeah. But you also don't want to say that. Yeah. You don't want to use those words.
Yeah. And I think if I had to label it for Garcia, I think it would be more of an upfunding since she does want to increase patrols.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She just don't want to say those words because those blue voters hear that and they write you off and they'll cancel you. Yeah. You'll never work again.
But funny enough, they all are going under the Democratic side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. These are good candidates. They're moderate Democrats.
These are good candidates for sure. She wanted to reduce bureaucracy at the Department of Education headquarters to send more funding to schools, give principals more control over school budgets, advancing universal literacy goal to 2023, getting all students to grade level reading by third grade. Okay. adding more school social workers and counselors, and giving more funding to schools serving a large portion of homeless students.
Which is a big, that one that you mentioned just now is a big one, the third grade reading, because literacy rates in America are very, very low. If you look at Baltimore, it's like kids in third grade can't read. And
at all.
Yeah, kids in California, there's huge racial gaps too, because you have private schools and public schools. When you talk about public schools, it's like a 4-year gap in mathematic ability to white kids to minority kids. There's huge differences. Baltimore, like 74% of the kids perform under their level. They're insane. So that's a big thing. Something you don't hear a lot of politicians talk about.
Yeah, I agree with most of what she's doing, which is really good. The one, so I'm also an advocate of like giving power to the people than giving more power to one position, right? And one thing she was doing is giving more power to the principal. On the judges and what could happen to the school. But I'm more so appreciative of things like giving power to the students and the parents, where they can pick schools instead of like,
I'd rather have it go to the parents than to the principal.
Exactly. And then she had a broad climate change plan, or climate plan in general, focused on repurposing city resources, which is good. Like buildings and vehicles, roadways, and Rikers Island.
Yeah, I mean, you have fully renewable energy she wants to go for. This is just the basic climate change rhetoric that the left is pushing out.
Yeah, you have as a default option.
Exactly, yeah. Talking about electric school buses. I think it was like 100K electric school buses she wants to produce, and all schools run on solar. She wants to make the rules of every school solar in New York City.
Yeah, so it's actually another thing Adam wants to do as well.
But just the basic Green New Deal, New York version that all these Democrats push out that you're not going to get away from.
Definitely not.
So good candidate.
Yeah, so far good candidate.
I think the numbers right now, I have what the
she's the third out of all of them.
She's third. It was
19 point something.
36, 22, 20. No, 32, 22, 20.
32, 22, 19.
So 32 Adams, 22 was Wiley, and then 19, 20 was her. She was right behind Wiley. But moving to Mrs. Wiley, let's see what we have on her.
So I'll start off real quick while you get on there. So she is a civil rights attorney, former counsel to de Blasio. Not much to say right about there.
No, that's actually a bad thing.
Yeah. And MSNBC commentator. Also that's not I wouldn't regard that as a good thing either. Being part of the a media outlet. Obviously there's some bias to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But she's a Democrat, so she's loud.
She's best known for championing issues like police divestment and reinvestment, which was what we just spoke about. And then reinvesting in that money or allocating it to communities, child and elder care, and equity in education.
Yeah, and she was a professor too.
Oh, she was a professor as well.
She's another one who's very intelligent. These aren't de Blasios. They're very intelligent people. She's the one who wanted to cut police funding in half?
She wanted to cut police funding. I don't know by half, though.
No, she wanted. Yeah, she did $6 billion to $3 billion, and she wanted to reinvest that into community services,
social worker programs, and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. So that's like the big move, because this is their new attempt to how we're going to deal with crime. Is that we're going to get social workers on it, and I mean, it hasn't worked in the past. Doesn't seem like it's going to work, but this is one of the ones where I was reading the policies and I was like, she seems very good, very intelligent. Yeah. But then she lost me, because then there's also $10 billion in spending.
So my biggest problem right now, because we're seeing it right now, and we just spoke about this. Like, crime is here's a fact: crime is increasing by a lot
30%
in the city,
New York, annually.
And the whole idea about defunding the police is taking that money away and reinvesting it into social workers and mental health programs, stuff like that. But the thing is, though, and we've seen the direct effect of defunding the police, which is more crime, more assaults, rapes, homicides. So I just don't understand what how your alternative will help with that.
The rape numbers are insane. 58%, I think it was.
Yeah, and that's my biggest problem. And she also had a quote saying that we need to defund the police so we could have safer along the lines of we have safer communities.
And like the thing is, she has a $10 billion spending plan, which is huge for a state. Even New York, that's a big plan to propose. If your priority is so high crime, but you see what defunding the police does, then why not just do both? Why not keep the police budget, but then also build your social services and just have the best of both worlds?
Right.
Why is it one or the other? Why do we have to compromise on this?
Yeah, I don't know. Because we, like you said, we do have so much money.
Yeah.
And you could do both.
And they're not doing anything with the money. Homelessness, 61% increase in the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Infrastructure hasn't gotten anywhere.
No.
Schooling is worse than it's ever been. So where is that money going?
And obviously, there's no urgency or if we waste money, we waste money. There's no urgency in that. And you could definitely see that through de Blasio, because he's wasted that we know of, in those two programs, almost $2 billion.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a lot of money. On top of that, they all have their basic kind of socialist plans for the poor. She wants to give 100,000 families at least $5,000 annually. And other programs that You need to look at how you pay that back. You need to make sure that they're using that money for the right things. You need to have checks up. But it's not a bad idea to give the poorest people some money. You just need to make sure they're using it on the right stuff to better themselves and for opportunities. How she wants to do that, I don't know. But you're not going to get away from some type of socialist charging from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, which is like not surprising to us. Like they're mostly going to be Democratic, and like you said, it's more like a checklist. It's like a basic option package.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to come with it anyway, so we just work off what we got. Another thing, she had a main education proposal about hiring 2,500 new teachers at the cost of $250 million to reduce class sizes and to create what she called trauma-informed care. Mental health teams in every school made up of social workers, guidance counselors, and psychologists. And then she also wants to remove police officers from schools and reallocate $450 million from the NYPD school safety budget to support students and mental health services.
And see, that was one of the ones that I read, and that was one of the ones that I was like, well, that's a bad idea, though.
Yeah. See, listen, I don't know about y'all, but New York City's public schools are different.
Yeah.
They're different. You need those schools. Like only New Yorkers will ever understand that. But the school system, you need those school officers.
And they don't do nearly enough. The police
no, they don't do anything, let alone the fact that we're going to take them away, too.
They do the bare minimum. If you take them away, it's going to get way worse.
I was boys with mine.
But that's a bad policy.
Yeah, it's a bad policy. And then also, I don't know about reducing class sizes. I mean,
it depends on if the issue is class sizes. Like, you need to be able to determine that's the reason that those literacy rates are so low.
And if it is, then go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's just more like pulling strings, like, see what you get.
I don't think class size is the issue.
I think large classes were more fun, if anything.
I mean, it doesn't. There's no proof that shows that it negatively affects students' learning ability that much. You do want that one-on-one attention. If that's the issue, then. But then if the one issue is one-on-one attention, that's a whole different animal. Yeah. It's not just reducing class sizes. That's like tutoring, and that's a whole different system.
Yeah.
But obviously, some good stuff she has in there.
Yeah, she has some good stuff in general. It's just more so like what you said. She kind of lost me at the defunding and then putting the alternative, because right now, like, my biggest concern was also the crime rates going up.
And you saw this is crime rates going up with a $1 billion decrease. She's talking a $3 billion decrease.
Right. We'll be screwed, honestly.
Yeah. So,
in short, plain terms,
we're screwed. Anything else on her?
No, pretty much it.
So let's get to my guy, who I like. I mean, I hadn't done a lot of research on Eric Adams. Because
that's my guy as well.
I was bigger on Andrew Yang. I thought Andrew Yang was kind of like a runaway with this. It seemed like he was the leader by a large margin. But Eric Adams is kind of taking over.
Yeah.
We're talking, he was a Republican from 1995 to 2002.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's a registered Republican. This is good because you want someone who's going to be down the middle. You want someone who's going to look at both sides. And he has that Republican experience, which the other two don't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, New York can definitely benefit from some conservative policies right now. They're not going to get a lot of them, but some will help.
But he's also running Democratic right now.
He's the Democrat now. He was a Democrat in 2014. He became the Brooklyn Borough president. So since then, ever since 2002, he's been a Democrat. But he's always been moderate, which is good. He said one of the favorite things, his publicly famous statement, is that if he becomes mayor, no security detail, he's just walking around with a gun.
Nice.
He's going to be strapped up, walking around with a gun. So we have guns rights, Second Amendment advocate very publicly. And even saying that, he's well ahead in the polls.
Yeah.
And just so I can mention real quick, New York is using ranked choice voting.
Yes. Oh, we didn't explain that.
We didn't mean that. So ranked choice voting means that you list your candidates by how much you want each one.
Yeah.
So you
up to
list
5
all
spots.
12. Oh, it's up to 5. Okay. So you go Eric Adams, then Wiley, then Kathryn Garcia, then Andrew Yang, and then whoever.
Yeah.
And then obviously you need to get 50% to move forward.
Moves to the next round.
So this is the first time it's ever been used.
First time, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Eric Adams. Besides that, he was in the police. He was a sergeant in the police.
Yeah. So I read he was also sergeant, but also he moved up to the captain. I wasn't really sure what his position was.
Did he get to captain?
I think he did. Yeah, 22 years.
Yeah.
He was in department. So I'd say he got up to captain.
Yeah. So he has that experience.
Yeah, and then in the as a Brooklyn Borough president, as you said, he has 10 years experience in there as well.
Yeah. So all of these candidates have a lot of experience, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, either way around it, the optimistic thing is that whoever wins this is going to be better. A lot better. I'm
happy with all three. Like we have we both like Eric Adams the best, out of all three of them. But right now, this is definitely way miles ahead of de Blasio right now. In my opinion.
On top of that, we're talking small business funding, real estate development, right back with that homeless authority type of thing where we got to get this real estate going. and he has not said he's come out against defunding the police.
Yes, he has.
So this is big because he's come out against defunding the police and he's winning.
And he's still number one.
Yeah, so that's huge.
Yeah,
that's really big. He's my favorite.
The main thing that I really liked was he's not defunding the police, but he's also trying to restructure and reprogram it.
Yeah,
and because he's aware of what's going on.
He said we need reform.
Reform, exactly, and that's the main thing. So obviously, like, he knows what he's talking about, especially being part of the department.
And we're talking $3,000 payments to the poorest people. So one-time payments, $2,000. Was it monthly or one time?
I think it was. Actually, I don't know.
That seems like that would be.
I remember the number 3,000.
Yeah, 3,000 to the poorest. Universal childcare is another one he wants to do too.
Yeah.
So that's a big policy that the other ones didn't really mention too much on universal healthcare. So universal childcare, obviously, socialist type of policy, but a good one if you can do it right.
If you can do it right, that's the big thing.
And just like we said, housing assistance as well.
And then also he had a bus rapid system or something like that. Let me see. He had a bus rapid transit system. So he's trying to implement more routes and stuff like that to get away from the traffic. We have a lot of traffic in New York.
Yeah, New York is a tough place to drive in too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the big thing about him is you don't have that one thing that pops out at you and say, well, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
Like you have with you have with Kathryn.
Yeah.
He's got just a list of policies. We're two conservatives saying there's a list of good policies. I'm for the universal childcare system if you do it right.
Yeah,
it doesn't drain the budget too much.
Yeah.
And you have a fair system.
We also have the money for it.
We have the money for it. So, I mean, he's leading in the polls. I'd be very excited if he wins.
Yeah. Like, it would be really nice.
Yeah, it would be great.
Like, I'd be happy.
Yeah. And then Curtis Sliwa was the Republican. Guardian Angels founder, which Guardian Angels is like a vigilante group.
Oh yes, I forgot.
So they're in 13 countries and 130 cities. They're non-violent. They just a volunteer force. Obviously, he wants to refund the police. He's big on like animal abuse too, which was
really.
I mean, I was saying that's a kind of weird one. Like you have such an uphill battle, and that's what you're going with.
And he mentioned animal abuse on his platform.
That's his number 2 thing.
What?
Yeah.
What animal abuse is happening out here?
Like he's saying that animals are being put to sleep when they have a chance at adoption, and that's an issue. Which is an issue, yeah. But, I mean, if you're running for Republican in New York City, you need to really break the ground.
Oh, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying, like, caring about animals is weird. That's cool. But I'm saying, like, as number 2 thing as your platform for running as a mayor, like, I don't know.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's not going to win, though.
Who?
But, Sliwa.
Oh, yeah, Sliwa, yeah.
He blew out Mateo, who was Trump's nominee for, who Trump sponsored for NY, but...
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to win. He won 72% of the vote in that.
Curtis Sliwa.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was also... I saw a video. He's also weird a little bit.
He's a little weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, he walks around with that hat on all day.
Yeah. He's a little weird.
All right. So. But Eric Adams, Maya Wiley, and Kathryn Garcia. Yeah. Eric's my favorite.
And also, they also said it'll take a long time.
Because it'll take weeks, yeah.
Because a lot more people have chosen to do absentee ballots this time. And they didn't want to show up at the polls because of COVID, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to take a lot longer than usual.
All right. But, I mean, I've said my stuff.
I've said my stuff as well.
Let's go Eric Adams. Go out to the polls. Always vote. Even if you're dead. Vote then, too. Because it'll probably count.
Oh, man.
But, hey, dead voters, you guys can come to our side, too. Feel free. We welcome you. But besides that, I'm done.
I'm done as well.
At least you won't have to go to de Blasio anymore.
That's it. No de Blasio.
So that's a reason to celebrate.
That's all I can ask for at this point.
But these guys are good. We will catch you guys later, all right?
Sure.
Peace out.
Peace.